is wonderful at doing what he does, so I'll let him take the floor.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you. So I am very excited to talk all about live video today. So in live video, you never know what's going to happen, and honestly, that's what makes it real. That's what really kind of connects people to it. And just imagine if you could take people along the journey of your business. If you could show them the successes that you have along the way, if you could share some of the struggles and the pains that you're going through, and if you could really take them kind of behind the scenes and really showcase just what your business journey is like. If you could showcase how it is that you prepared that amazing dish, or if you could take them and show them how you break down those musical notes for every single conference. The beauty of live video is that it really brings people along on that journey. It's a chance for them to connect with you as a real person, and that's when you start to get people who are more than just followers, who are more than just customers, who really become a community. And so that's what we're going to really dive in here today, is talking about just the power of live video and what that can do. And it's something I'm very excited about because we all buy from brands that we know, like, and trust. And it's those businesses out there that are really diving in and using live video as a way to kind of build that trust through storytelling. They're out there, they're taking people along on those journeys and bringing them kind of behind the scenes and letting them know who the people are who are running your business and start to build that like aspect, really get to create that connection and their relationship, which just simply builds that trust. So as we kind of dive in, who in here has ever gone live before? Or has somebody on your business who has gone live before? A few more of those, okay. All right, but still we have a nice little mix of people who are fairly new to live. Love it, so this is gonna be great. So I first started with live business back in 2014. It was kind of the first live stream event that I've ever run, and I've gotten to see a lot of different aspects of live video. And I spend all my days working in video in some way, shape, or form. Most of the time, I am on the other side of the camera. So jumping back in front of it, or back in kind of in front of groups, is always a little, I spend a lot of time doing a lot of the editing, doing a lot of the production, helping with strategy, whether that's freelancing for just video clients, or running weekly shows for clients. Also do a lot of live streaming for events, so event live streaming. Like I said, it was kind of my very first live stream event that got me really interested. It was for a big conference, and just back in 2014 when it was way more difficult to go live, cost way more money to go live too. So it was very exciting to kind of see the industry change, because now it is in our fingertips, quite literally. It is in our fingertips to at least go live in some way, shape, or form, where back then it was back when Twitch was still just in TV, and it was much more difficult to do all of this stuff. But with my time in live video, I've gotten the chance to see all the different opportunities and different ways you can kind of format your lives to reach audiences, to connect in different ways. So everything from doing guest interviews with other influencers out there or other people out there in your industry, to broadcasting events, conferences, multiple day trade shows. You can broadcast the stage to people who aren't there, like we're doing today even. You can even take people behind the scenes of those very same conferences and just kind of give them a whole new aspect of what it's like to be there, or what it's like to kind of run those events and what that can mean. Or you could simply go through and showcase products. Talk about maybe a new product launch, showcase the differences between different products. And this stuff works for kind of normal everyday products up to some more luxury high-end products as well. It works kind of all across the board, from your info products to your physical luxury vehicles. And with all this work with live video, there's a few patterns that I've kind of noticed throughout the years. And that's really what we're going to dive into today, is talking about the 5 elements of a live streaming strategy. And we're going to use this basically as our roadmap for today, kind of talk about live streaming in general, live video in general, and how you can use it as a marketer in order to grow a business, to grow a following, to sell products. While we're going through this with each of those elements, we're going to talk about a couple of the pitfalls that I tend to see people kind of get stuck with. So each one will have at least 1 or 2 pitfalls that we'll quickly address and talk about. But ultimately, most of the time when I get to talk about this, I'm talking to small business owners or like coaches, authors, more of that entrepreneurial type piece. So I do find it refreshing and very nice to be up here with a bunch of other marketers. So I'll be sure to save time at the end for some questions. But if you have questions or anything as we're going, feel free to stop me, let me know. I want to make sure this is as valuable for you as possible. So feel free to let me know if you have questions. And with that, let's dive on in. So the first element of a live streaming strategy is, number 1, weekly shows. The weekly show. This is kind of that foundational element for me. It's what I definitely recommend people look at, consider, build their strategy around. So what I mean by a weekly show is really kind of that consistency. It's showing up on the same day, ideally same time, every single week. Usually this weekly show is a little more high-level content. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of people on, say, Facebook or stuff going live, with the phone as they're kind of running, walking around, or just randomly showing up live. Those have value, but that's not necessarily what we're talking about here. Here we want something that is teaching, that is giving some great information, is maybe higher level production, and we'll talk a little bit about that. You can do that from your phone. It can look nicer from your phone, so don't have to worry too much about that. But you want to think about, what is that show that we can have every single week to build that habit with our audience and just kind of keep showing up again and again. And so the reason behind having that weekly show is to create that kind of habit with people. This is about building that trust with them, getting them to show up again and again and again, getting to like you, getting to know more about your brand, know more about your business, and really create that connection, create that relationship. Having a consistent weekly show that is content-based is also really going to help just kind of get that information out there. If you create it in such a way, it'll help with SEO, it'll help with lots of other things and get more people into your brand in general. So this, like I said, this is really the foundation of that live streaming strategy. So I want you to really kind of keep that in mind as we go through all of these other things. And just I'm kind of laying out the ideal situation here. Ultimately, it's going to be important that we just kind of get started and get doing something with live. I know we were even talking about when dealing with salespeople sometimes that can be a little difficult. Like I have to deal with car salesmen. So going live on the same time, on the same day, every single week gets to be a struggle, because if somebody walks in that wants to buy a car, they're going to go sell them that car. They're not going to care about that live video that's right in front of them. They want to make money as well. So sometimes you have to be a little flexible, but we're going to throw out kind of that ideal situation for you here today. But ultimately, it comes down to consistency. It comes down to showing up every single week, getting the algorithms going for you, getting that stuff working for you, and getting people used to that habit of looking for your videos. The number 1 pitfall in here, and there's kind of 2 elements to that, but the number 1 pitfall is overwhelm. Overwhelm with, what is it that I even say? What should I be talking about? Is kind of that first element that we want to deal with. And so that's where I want you to think about, how can I create some sort of show flow? What can I do to create that consistent pattern, that template that we can run with on every single weekly show? You can obviously add variations once you get used to it, but having that template to run with is going to be beneficial to you. It's going to be beneficial to anybody who's on air. It's going to be beneficial to your audience. Here's kind of a recommended example show flow. You want to start with a hook. So the one mistake that I see a lot of people making is when they're doing their live video, they're gonna throw up their phone and then they're kind of looking, no one's showing up. It's like, oh, we're just gonna wait here kind of until a few more people show, until some more people show up, start commenting. So comment if you're here, and they just start wasting time at the beginning of that video. The thing a lot of people forget about that is 90% at least plus of that of your views are going to happen after the live video is done. So having even 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes of wasted time up front is just that, wasted time, views that you're not going to be getting because people are going to see nothing's going on, or you're just sitting there and they're going to go on to the next video, or they're going to skip to the next thing. So you want to have something 30 seconds right away, immediately, jump in with some sort of hook. Tell them that, tease them about what you're going to be talking about right away up front. Then from there, you can, if you're doing a more high-end production, this is oftentimes where you'll throw in like a bumper. So I'm sure you've seen them on YouTube channels or YouTube videos before, or even like TV, that quick little bumper of just kind of fancy intro piece. Oftentimes that can be incorporated about talking about what the brand is. These can be graphics, these can be videos. They want to be short. 15 seconds is more than plenty, but it's just something quick to kind of show that you're high level, really, is what you're doing. If you're doing a phone, you're likely not going to be able to do this, but that's perfectly fine. The next piece is going to be that introduction. If your bumper is able to talk a little bit just about your brand or business, or kind of give your tagline, awesome. You don't need to touch on that here in the introduction, but what you might want to do if you can't do that, or if you're just using your phone, is quick, tell who your brand is, tell who your business is, like tagline we're talking about here, and then introduce who you are, and then this is where you introduce kind of the main topic, kind of flesh out that hook that you teased earlier, and you're going to go through that here. And then you're going to jump into the main content. This might be your 3 key elements, your 5 elements, the difference between an A4 and an A5. Jump into that main topic piece here at this point. And then you're going to do a quick wrap up, and then of course your close with all of your calls to action to subscribe, like, share, all that fun stuff. Go to a specific URL to buy your product, whatever it may be. So again, that's just a quick example, show flow. But now I want to talk just a little bit about the kind of 4 different types of episodes that I think you can go through and really create. So the first is going to be educational. This is where kind of what we were talking about here. It's your 5 elements to your strategy, or the main differences between these 2 products, something like that. It's where you're teaching, you're educating in some way, shape, or form. The next one is that thought leader interview. And really this can be for, even if you have physical products, you can bring on other people who help design those products. You can do different things like that. You can be a little more creative in this, but it's interviewing somebody else who has an expertise that you might have, or that you might not have, or that the person who's normally on camera for you might not have. So it's bringing in kind of those outside experts to give their opinion. Then you have your case study. Think of this almost as a more educational testimonial. So it's, say, for example, taking someone who used element number 2 of your 5 elements and the shift it made in their business, or used your product and saw these results. And it's going through and having an actual conversation with them, talking with them about what they noticed, about how it worked for them, about where they still struggled, or where they might have had a hard time doing this. But really what you're doing here is you're very subtly showing that your product works, that your expertise works, in a way that is allowing someone else to basically say, yeah, what they do works, I approve it. It's building, again, a great way to build that kind of testimonial in there, to build that, you're basically adding authority to what you're doing and credibility to your product and to your brand by doing stuff like this. I don't see enough of these, and they work really well. The last category is kind of that experiential. This is really where you're taking someone on a journey very literally oftentimes. So it could be doing some sort of demonstration of your product. It could be if you're at an expo, maybe you're taking them booth to booth with you as you're kind of talking about things. It's going behind the scenes and doing a tour of your plant. It's showcasing the office or talking about your studio setup for your videos. It's those kinds of things. It's really taking people along. And that's what live video is really great at, is kind of this experiential type element. You're letting people feel like they're there with you touring Madison, Wisconsin, or whatever it might be. The big way to overcome this pitfall is really just to dive in and get going. We're going to talk a lot about, especially here in a second, about the different levels, but just find a way to get started. You might not even be able to get started at your ideal level, but the important thing is to get something on the calendar and just dive in and take action. Even if it's just with your phone, even if it's just a very short, simple live stream, whatever it needs to be, the faster you get moving, the easier it's going to be down the road, and it's just going to get those wheels turning and that gear growing. The next big overwhelm piece here is around gear, and that's gear overwhelm. So don't just buy gear. I have done this. This is just a little bit of the gear. That's not even close to half of it. That's a small little chunk. I have closets of gear that half of it doesn't get used. So I want you to really think about, what gear do I actually need? People can get overwhelmed by gear, get frustrated by gear, or you can be like me and just get really into gear, and then you buy way more than you need, stuff that doesn't work. I want you to do this kind of a smart way, to really think about, what gear do I need? And really, as we've talked about, it's not necessarily a lot. So the first step to this is to know what's possible. If you can think about some of the most high-end TV shows or talk shows, things like that you've seen, we can pretty much do that with live streaming now. I'm working on right now how I can add in drone shots as B-rolls, as live drone footage into streams. It can be done. I've done it. The drone's not perfect yet. I got to tweak a few things, but you can go crazy from having graphics and countdown timers and things like that on your video to having multiple cameras. You can add slides and have cutouts. So if your business runs a webinar, for example, you can easily upgrade your webinars to where your slide and your face is on there at the same time to add even more connection with your audience. You can add lower thirds. You can add full pre-edited B-roll over stuff. You can go high end with this and bring in lots of different mics, lots of different panel people. It pretty much is all possible. And even if you want to go and say, do a higher quality mobile stream, if you're touring a building, for example, you can still have a very nice camera. You can have a very nice microphone to make sure that you're getting high quality shots. It can be gimbal stabilized while still having, a lavalier on them, so you get really nice video, even if it is live. That stuff's all possible. But the key here is kind of be willing to start where you are. I want you to know what's possible, but I want you to be willing not to wait and just to get started where you are, even if that is with a phone. And no matter what, sidebar, but no matter what, I think your phone video is always going to be a part of your strategy, or it always should be a part of your strategy in some way. So even as you get higher end productions, you're going to want to keep having that element there. But then that final kind of key here is to really be upgrade focused and to think about making those smart purchases along the way. So you know where you want to go, you know what your ideal stream looks like, and then you can make smart purchases along the way so you don't have a bunch of wasted equipment. There are kind of three levels to live streaming as I see them. There is the level one, which is the phone. It's that basic stream. This can be slowly upgraded, and pretty much everyone can go live from their phone. I don't know, I know we had kind of a mix of people who went live before, but most smartphones nowadays, you're gonna be able to go live on whichever platform you choose for the most part. If you want to upgrade that live stream, there's little things you can do. I was going to pull out a few of that stuff, but I can grab it later if you want to see it. But there's little elements of gear that you can grab kind of along the way to upgrade that quality of your phone stream. So you can add like a glyph, which is a tripod adapter. So basically it holds your phone really awesomely on a tripod. You can get something like the Peak Design tripod, which is super portable. You can get something like a Switch pod, which is also super portable. It can be held in your hand, gives like a very nice, here. That one I have right here, so I'm gonna pull that out. And honestly, this is probably, if you're looking for just like a little tripod for your phone, this is probably my favorite right now. So you'd get the glyph adapter, would go right on here, clip your phone in, and then you have this little tripod, so it goes like this, so you can hold it out from you, gets good, like it can see you well, it's good for selfies that way, but then it'll really easily flip into a tripod, and so you can set it down, really simple, really easy, great little product. And then you could add mics and lights and all that kind of stuff to your gear as well.
Are you micing right into the smartphone?
You can, yes. Yep. And luckily, our smartphones, their microphones are getting better. So if you're fairly close to it, it can work pretty well. Giovanni actually has a really nice one. He's running a stream right now. He hooked me up with this really nice one here. This is the Rode video mic. Which one is it? Go, okay. I always forget the names. They have so many different names for their ones. But this one works really well, works with smartphones. It's just a really cool wireless lav. So that's a great one to use. Then of course there's higher end ones you can do as well too. But this one works really great for that kind of stream. Level 2 is kind of that basic setup. This, you're basically moving from the phone to a laptop, desktop, kind of taking your stream up a level, but it's still going to be a little more basic. It's going to be a webcam, maybe one external camera, and then you can add in some streaming software where you can start to pull in some graphics and some other things like that. If you're on a Mac, I highly recommend the Ecamm. Their streaming software, more basic, but with a Mac. So I'm a huge Apple person. I have Apple everything. On the live streaming side, it's all PC. PC dominates that side. But you can get stuff done at a basic level with like a MacBook Pro, even an older MacBook Pro. But I recommend Ecamm as the software to use for that. It works really well. Wirecast is also available on both PC and Mac. If you want to go a little fancier, you're going to need a more powerful Mac though to get that done. At least decent and have consistency with that. And then if you're on a PC, honestly, vMix is my favorite. It's what I use for our big productions. It works really awesome just with what you can do with that. And then level 3 is where you kind of go into that production level of a live stream. And there you're talking about a dedicated streaming device. There's some external devices. A lot of times because I travel so much with mine, I just have basically a big VR gaming laptop. The one that's on screen actually is the one I have. But it's just a beefed up laptop. It's a beast, solid like 15 inches, like it's a beast. But that all it does is stream. Yeah.
You're going that level 2 basic on a laptop or a desktop. Are you can be like sharing screen? Is it you and like a PowerPoint potentially? Or?
It can be, yes, okay. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yep, so that's where you can definitely start adding some of that in. Ecamm does that okay. Ecamm's great if you want to just add like little lower third graphics, or if you want to have a call with somebody and do it that way, or even if you want like say side-by-side interview with someone, Ecamm will work really great with that. If you want to do more of the PowerPoint, I'd probably go with Wirecast actually, and just kind of go that route.
You'd favor these over like webcast software?
Personally, I do. Some just because of the flexibility with it is a big part of it. Zoom, I know a lot of people who do like that. Personally, I also don't like that they always have their branding on it and other little things like that. But it definitely can get the job done too. Any of that, yeah.
This is probably like a level 1 question here.
No worries.
So these are software programs that you load onto your computer. do you start it off on your phone? Is it also load on your phone?
So, yeah, when we're jumping, that would be sticking with level 1 is the phone. But yeah, so it depends on which platform you want to go to. From there, you're going to sign into the YouTube app, or you're going to sign into the Facebook app and go live right from there. Yep, right from there. That's going to be the best way to do it, really, honestly. And
Using a computer or other cameras.
Yep.
You use those.
Correct, yeah. And the big thing is on your phone, you can't really add in a lot of the other stuff. There is software out there like Switcher Studio and things like that. Work okay, but a lot of times it's overkill for what you're going to try and do if you're using your phone, because then you tend to need multiple phones and multiple iPads and iOS devices. So that's generally not the route people want to go. But if anybody does, I can talk to you about it.
On the phone with teaching, have you seen success with like whiteboard style?
Whiteboard style works pretty well, yes, yeah. So a lot of people will connect with that. I think the key there will be good lighting to help bring up the quality a little bit, and then possibly a mic there would be really nice. Yeah, if you can even get something like the Mic Go, that one, yeah, that'd be great.
Because you might be turning around.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And just, even if you're any sort of distance other than like arm length from the phone, the phone mics have gotten a lot better, but once you get past that kind of arm length from the phone, it gets a little iffy, in my opinion. But I'm also grew up in the audio world, so I might be a little pickier. All right, so we're live streaming level 3, more of the production level quality. You'll need a dedicated device, and this is usually where you're bringing in studio cameras. So possibly multiple different cameras, capture cards, higher quality mics, like nice podcasting mics, or handheld wireless lavs. You're usually bringing in more of a setup, even if you're doing, say, an interview or something like that. If you want to, I'm putting together a gear guide. It is put together. If you want to learn more about gear, it kind of dives through all this in a little bit more detail. Just go to nickpalkowski.com/AMA. AMA. And really, the kind of take action piece with this pitfall is to add complexity. So start out simple, start where you are, and then slowly look to upgrade things. Your first stream ever probably should not be a multiple camera, 3-person interview setup. Like, take steps, take baby steps, add complexity as you go. Like I said, I've been doing this for years now, and I'm still continuing to add little pieces at a time. We didn't jump to this right away. Drone piece, I'm going for it. I'm excited for that one. But know it's possible, be upgrade focused, and then start where you are. All right, number two is driving audience. Yeah?
Actually, real quick,
Yeah, no.
based on that, so weekly, is there a limit in terms of time frame that you want to set aside for your audience?
Honestly, not really. Most people think shorter. Kind of the general assumption is that people seem to think that shorter is better. That's not true. It takes a while for, say, Facebook, YouTube, any of them to kind of notify, especially Facebook, if you're going live there, it takes a while for them to notify your audience that you're even live. So usually it's at least a 20-minute stream. Kind of between that 20 to 30 minutes is kind of ideal. An hour long is no problem. I have people that go 4 hours long on a weekly basis. That gets to be a lot. I've done a 12-hour long live stream for a client here, not too far from Madison. That was for a special event. I don't recommend that. That gets to be a little crazy. But it can kind of vary. Ultimately, it's going to be what you can kind of keep up. If you're looking for kind of a blanket answer, I'd say shoot to be at least 20 minutes. Don't just waste time, though. Like if your stream's done at 10, you're better off cutting it at 10. Yeah.
Oh, real quick, so then to follow up on that, so like today, you started speaking at noon, so we should probably start the live stream maybe at 22, 11:40, so that, or no, or, because.
So that brings up, so can't remember if I have a slide in there kind of touching on this or not, but that does bring up kind of a little bit of a point that people are still kind of trying to figure out. And that is some people on their weekly show, one, you don't just want to have empty, wasted time. So for today example, like if we're trying to get people exactly there, like I started that probably, because I'm live streaming to my YouTube channel right now, I started that probably 10 minutes before we went live, but mostly that was ease for me, so I didn't have to be trying to start and do all this other stuff at the same time. I will probably trim that because it's a YouTube video and I want people to be able to jump right in, and then I don't have any other graphics or anything like that telling people, kind of counting things down. You might have noticed earlier we had a countdown timer for, say, like the social media breakfast stream. We usually have that. Any of my event streams will usually have a countdown timer. That's so I can say start it early. Like I will start it especially if it is one that's behind like a paywall or something like that, I'll start that hour and a half early just to make sure it's running. I can work out all the kinks there, and we'll just have, say, that up. We'll have a graphic up, say show coming, countdown timer, and I'll be switching back and forth between two different timers. And people will just show back up for that example. Other people with weekly shows will often do, there's a decent amount of people who will do a countdown timer, kind of a pre-show. Use that pre-show as a spot for entertainment, or engagement, I mean, sorry, not entertainment. Entertaining engagement, same kind of element. They'll communicate with their audience. So these are people who know they're gonna have people showing up every single week. They have that little countdown timer. They're talking to them, asking them about their weekend, asking a couple questions, maybe teasing what they're gonna be talking about on the Facebook live stream, for example. But the whole time they'll have that countdown timer there to let people know when they're gonna jump into the actual content, which is the time that they kind of also really say. So say they go live every day at 10 a.m., they'll start their pre-show at 9:55, and then their actual show will start right at 10 a.m. So there's a little bit of, if you know you'll have that community showing up right away, it's fair, especially on Facebook, I would say it's very worth testing and trying that out on Facebook to kind of build that audience, to have people there ready to go, have that engagement element there right away. If you don't have a big audience, don't think people will show up, or even really on YouTube, it's more of a question. YouTube, I would more dive right in, just because of the nature of YouTube and the very searchable element to it. Facebook's more about engagement, YouTube's more about search. And then I would probably not have a pre-show. So I know that was kind of a little bit of a tangent, but that's just kind of where things are. It depends a little bit on which platform you're on and a little bit about what your current audience situation is. Other questions? Yeah.
This is definitely a level 1 question.
No worries.
So I guess whenever I thought of going live, I pretty much only just thought about Facebook, more so for personal use, I guess. I haven't done anything with this for business use yet. So are we mostly talking about like just a YouTube channel though, or what are the main like mediums for this?
You are jumping ahead of me like half a slide, but no, that's good. We'll dive into it now. So when people think about live video, where do you think? Instagram, okay, we have an Instagram, awesome. What, Facebook? Who thinks about Facebook for live video? Okay. Instagram, any other platforms? YouTube, yep. So there's, really what it comes down to is you need to inventory where your marketing assets are. Because there are lots of spots where you can go live and use live video. So think about, we'll get into some of this in a second, but really think about what kind of social media following do you have? What kind of, like if you have a huge Facebook audience, you might want to go on Facebook. When it comes down to which platform, I don't always talk about it because it varies so much on the business, on where some of your marketing elements are. Facebook is overrated a lot of times, in my opinion. Great spot, definitely. Can be lots of engagement. If you have a big Facebook following and can get some engagement there right away, that's probably the spot for you. But I do think so many people just think about Facebook and they're missing the boat on that if that's all you think about. Because there are so many other platforms. Instagram, I know we had one Instagram person. If that's your thing, if it's going well for you, awesome, go there. In 2020, I would say if you're just going to get started with that, probably don't check that one out. It's for me, I don't like that the content dies so quickly there. But if you have an audience there, if you know you're going to get engagement there, yes, it's more about building that relationship. It's more about building that connection with your audience than at that point. What I would recommend doing is maybe saving, downloading any of your other lives and putting it up at, say, IGTV content. I think that could start going well for people. Have to play around with it a little bit. But if you got all these other things going and Instagram's just like a maybe piece, don't look at that first for live video if you haven't started yet. Where else do we have? We have Twitter. Don't even worry about it, honestly, unless that's your thing. And then if it is, you should be there. But I would stay away from live video on Twitter or Periscope. Twitch, most likely not for any of the businesses in this room. Great platform, really awesome. Could potentially be a bigger one down the road, but it's probably not for anybody here. LinkedIn, we were talking about that earlier. If you have access to live video on LinkedIn, I would recommend going there every single day right now. Now's the time to jump in on that. They are going to be promoting that really heavy. Not everybody has access to this. I do not have access to live video at LinkedIn, for example.
You don't have access to it.
It's in a beta program right now. So they're slowly starting to roll it out. There's few people that are starting to get it. It seems to be very random who they're letting in, but it's slowly starting to roll out. So if you are a LinkedIn user at all and you have access to that, jump in full force with that right now. Facebook, like I mentioned, is possibly a little overrated, but if you have people there and that's where you want to go, I highly recommend it. It's great for engagement. You're going to get the most comments of any stream probably through Facebook or Instagram if you have an audience there. The one people overlook the most is the one that I'm maybe a little extra excited about right now is YouTube. The reasoning, go live on Facebook. Your live video will still kind of be relevant, still be found by some people jumping in there about a week later. 7 days, that's usually when we kind of take the next stat of that. And then after that, it pretty much falls off and is done. YouTube, we have clients who we've done live videos for 6 months ago, still getting thousands of views every 48 hours. Especially when they're focused on search, when they're focused on content, it just keeps going and just adds to it. And even if you're already, say, into YouTube, creating YouTube videos, adding live is great because they're actually running two different algorithms. Live video and regular video are two different algorithms right now. So they play off each other a little bit, but lower view counts on your live videos not going to hurt your regular videos. So if anybody is worried about that, we have some clients who are very worried about that, but we haven't seen that. It hasn't been an issue yet. So that's a little bit on the platform. And really with this, you want to kind of take that full inventory, think about what works best for you. It is so case by case, so it's a little hard to say, but that's kind of the lay of the land of where we're at right now. One thing I think every single person who's doing live video, when we're talking about driving audiences, you want to think, we skipped over some of this, but you want to think about where do I have an email list, or what's my email list like? What other platforms can we use to market the stream? Relationship with influencers, networks of friends, things like that. You want to think about how can I drive traffic, because live video is not some sort of magic bullet. Just because you're live doesn't mean you're going to have hundreds of people on watching. If you're just starting out and you don't really have an audience, or you have a very minimal audience, you're probably going to be talking to no one. Maybe 2 or 3 when you start out. That's just the reality of it. But again, the way all the algorithms are working right now, it's going to keep getting views long after. Even on, say, bashing Facebook just a little bit that's gone in a week, but most of their views are going to happen after you're done being live, and then you're going to get a decent amount of views that first week. Then it'll kind of disappear, but that works well. So you want to think about how can I drive people to my live video. And once you get to say like a level 2, you're going to be able to get it actual like pre-schedule these. So if you go live every Wednesday at 10 a.m., you can, on Facebook, for example, you can pre-schedule it a week in advance if you want to. I don't know that I necessarily would. It probably doesn't need to be scheduled that far in advance, but you can get a URL that you can throw in an email, that you can put in your Instagram profile, link in bio. You can put it out in all these other different ways, especially when you get to the kind of that level. If you're not at that level, if you're just doing on a phone, you can still promote to it because, say, no matter if you're promoting to your YouTube channel or to Facebook page, they're going to let people know that somebody's live from that page or from that channel once you go there. Like Facebook will add the big red live button to the sidebar. If you're on desktop, it'll change the cover photo a lot of times. It depends on which version of Facebook you're running or you're on, but it'll change that entire cover photo to the live video. Like I've seen a few pages that do that now. So that's interesting. They're going to let people know. So just find ways to drive people to all of that. Also, think about adding in these personality streams. This is where adding in the extra phone streams other than your weekly show, or finding other ways to kind of promote people to your live stream is going to be big. It's a great way to build that extra little personal connection and still have kind of that nice polished show that is more about content creation. We've talked a lot about this pitfall is really relying on Facebook too much. So what I want you to do is create a plan. Think about how can I go out there and promote that weekly show? Like what can we do? And it goes from scheduling your stream or promoting just your page or channel and going out to your email list, Instagram story, whatever it might be. Think about how you can create some sort of, think of your live stream as the content, as the main course, if you will, and how can we promote to it. The third element is creating engagement. This is about how can you create that connection with people. And that is really the key, is you want to focus on that connection element. That's the beauty of live video. A big thing to do is to really pause for engagement, is to invite those opportunities for engagement. So we gave you the quick show flow of what that looks like, and we had that big chunk of main content there. Well, if you're doing, your main content piece is the 3 elements of live video or whatever it might be, the way to structure things to have engagement but still deliver value is to think about how can I create these in little packages? How can I deliver great content and then pause for that engagement? Because a mistake that I see a lot of people make is like, oh, we're going to talk about the 5 keys for life, and the first major key that's going to change your life, give you millions of dollars. Oh, hi, Tim. Great for joining. I'm glad you're here. How's Disney World? So that key that we really want to talk about is going to make a huge difference in your life. Oh, Sarah, thanks for hopping on. You know, it's constantly interrupting yourself before you're delivering the content. We need to add value to people to keep them there long term. You can't just engage. It doesn't work well. So if you have 3 elements, deliver that first element, maybe ask a question. That's the other kind of key, asking questions. But then pause and take time to engage before jumping into your second element. Pause, take time to engage, jump into your third element. Pause, take time to engage, wrap up, those kinds of things. So really think about how can we structure the engagement into our show flow. If you're just getting started out, again, you might not have anybody show up. So that's where you want to think about, okay, what does it look like if I do have people there? And what does it look like if I don't? If I don't have people showing up, asking questions, commenting, because I'm just starting, don't really have a Facebook following or anything like that, then you're just going to go through and deliver your content. You're basically live one-taking a video you might otherwise do. But if people are showing up, are engaging, that's when you're going to be able to have that opportunity to really take this live video to kind of that next level. Yeah?
I was just curious, so
So if you do a live stream, let's say with YouTube, where is that file that's stored when you're done? I mean, it's quite, I mean.
Yeah, no, it'll be right up there in your videos. Like it'll be right out, so you can create your page in a few different ways. You could have just a section for live videos that will just show up there always, but it'll show up just on your normal uploads as well.
So then you're the owner of it still though, right?
Yes.
You could take it off if you wanted to.
Correct, yeah, you can do anything you can do to a normal video after it's done, you can do to, after it's uploaded, you can do to a live video after it's finished as well. So you can get transcripts, like we'll download it, get transcripts sent in, get transcripts for SEO value, we'll add cards to it, we'll add end screens to it, all of those things. You can even go through and say you did have, like what we'll do to this one today is we had probably 10 minutes or whatever of just empty room up here. I'll go back in and I'll trim off that first 10 minutes so it'll be a little tighter video. You'll lose the comments when you do that. You'll lose any real-time chat when you trim it. But for purposes of today, for lots of other people's purposes, that's perfectly fine. Because honestly, depending on the size of your audience, you might not be having a lot of live chats or interaction going. Yeah. So one of the other cool things when you start to step up, depending on your software, even at level 2 for certain ones like the Ecamm, things like that, is you can actually start bringing in comments from your live viewers. So this is an example of just like for vMix and the setup I do for like big events. I'll have a separate iPad just kind of sitting on the side, and as somebody comments, it shows up there, and then I can hit send. It'll throw it across the live video so people can see that comment. Just another great little way to add that engagement piece. And that starts to happen once you get to level 2. If you're still on level 1, then it might be as simple as reading that comment on video. And it can just be a neat little way to add an extra little element of engagement for people. But again, be sure to ask questions. Thing to remember when you're asking questions, it is delayed. Sometimes as much as like 20 seconds. So a great practice is if you say, what are you planning on doing this weekend? Well, say that question. Hey, let me know what you're planning on doing this weekend. Leave a comment. I want to see what everyone's doing on Saturday. On Saturday, I'm going to be is you answering it yourself. Like so that gives people time to write their comment, gives the lag time to catch up so you can actually see the comment. It's just kind of a great little way to kind of buffer that element. Big pitfall on this one, we touched on it possibly a little bit here, is just getting discouraged. Don't be worried about the numbers, especially when you first start out. If you don't already have an established audience, there's going to be no one there. That's what everybody starts out as. No one's going to be engaging, no one's going to be showing up. But it's a matter of getting that going. And again, the more you can create that habit, the more you can do it at the same time. That's how you start to build some of that engagement, some of that audience. If you're starting from zero, now some of you I know are working with brands already who might have a decent following, then you're probably already in luck. You probably already have some people who just show up just by you promoting things initially. Even call some friends. Like honestly, that's a great way to get things started, is just have a small group of people. It's like, hey, even if you don't listen, like here's my question of the day that I'm going to ask at the beginning. Comment on that question. Give me something so I can riff off of that a little bit and start making it feel like there's a little more live, a little more engagement. Funnel development. We're going to go through this super quickly because I feel like most of you have an idea of how to do that already. So really, it's all about relationships. And with your live videos, you want to start to think about, okay, what's the next step? They're here, they're getting great content. Where do I want to take them next? What's our ultimate objective? Create that nurture sequence. You can add in, start creating some sort of lead magnet, and you can add that into your nurture sequence. Like how do we get people from that live video into our general funnel? One of the pitfalls that I see on this is kind of consistently direct selling. I probably should add that frequently direct selling. It can work on live video. It absolutely can. We've sold thousands of dollars in direct products from one live video. I wouldn't do it frequently. It can work really well in launches Like if you already know we're going to have a bunch of content kind of building up to this big launch event, then a live video can be a great way to really announce what that product is and then do a direct pitch right there on that. Like that works really well. If you want to occasionally do webinars and bring them onto live, if you do that, if your business does that, I would really think about not just having the slide on there, you want to add your face on that. Like for live video, you kind of need that. I don't know, it adds an extra element of it. It makes it work a little bit better. So that's where we're going to think about what kind of level can we add to this. The big thing you should be focused on is really connection for your live video. Kind of the take action element to this is think about what is that lead magnet, that first piece of your nurture sequence. And that could be everything from a resource guide, a simple little PDF, ebook, like a gear guide. Hint, hints. Or it could be an email series, or it could be like a mini video course, whatever it could be. How can we take people from our live video? Could be the same one for several weeks. Don't put too much stress on you to try and create a new one, every single one. You can do that. I have clients that do that, but it gets to be a little crazy, a little hectic, to be honest. Could even be as simple as a free consulting call. Like maybe that's all your lead magnet is right now. That's a good one to start out with if you're that kind of business. So think about what can you create as your lead magnet. Lastly, element number 5 is kind of that beyond live. I hate, it kind of pains me, in fact, at this point, is I see so many people, especially in the like speaker content creator world, where they'll just create content and then let it die. They'll spend hours editing this video and then promote it, like throw it out there once and then do nothing with it. Or they'll do this podcast, promote it once and then do nothing with it. Never talk about it again. So don't let your content die. Find ways you can take this live video. You can download it, even if you're just on your phone, you can download that video directly to your phone and you can chop it up. You can create little quotes from it. You can do little segments of it. If you're doing a bigger one, you can do some podcasting. Like you can turn your live video into a podcast. You can, because I know we're a lot of businesses here, if you're going to a live event, that is a great way to crank out a bunch of content. Even if you're just attending a trade show, think about all the different booths you could be going up to, interviewing them, talking to them, that kind of content. Think about all the different little elements that you can do live video and then put it out as other sorts of content. There's so many different ways to do this. You can, create nurture sequences. You can turn your live video. So if you're doing a Facebook Live, turn it into a YouTube video, even if that means cutting it up into chunks. Maybe you want to eliminate all of the engagement pieces and just have the big content pieces. Perfect. Do that and find ways to repurpose things. Turn it into blog posts. We get everything transcribed pretty much. Depends on the client, but for a lot of clients, we'll get everything transcribed. At least for SEO value on YouTube, but then it's also great starting content for blog posts or things like that. And then of course ads. You can start promoting, boosting, all that kind of stuff with your live videos as well. You can turn things into books or products if you are more of the consultant coaching type of business. Big pitfall around this is trying to do it all at once. So what I recommend is to think about one way to repurpose your content, especially if you're a single team or a single person. Like, don't try to do it all. Say, if you want to turn your live video into a podcast, just do that. Or if you want to turn your live video into one YouTube video, just do that. Find one and then get started with it. And that's really what I have for you here, is like just thinking about all the different ways that live video can be that foundation for your content creation and for your connection with your audience, for the people that are that you want to turn into clients, turn into followers, turn into a community. Live video can be that foundational element because it offers so much, plus that relationship building at the same time. So that is the 5-element live streaming strategy. Starts with a weekly show. thinks about driving audience, creating engagement, funnel development, and then going beyond live. And that is where the gear guide is again. My website, nickpalkowski.com, you can connect with me there. And really, is live video easy? No, but it's definitely worth it. So thanks again for having me here. Happy to take any questions. I know we got a couple minutes left, but not many. Yes?
So as I was sitting here, I thought about something I haven't thought about for a long time, Periscope. Do people even use that anymore? Is there
Not really.
Okay.
So people do, from what I know, as kind of the people in this room, probably stay away from it.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly.
Is Joe Blow in his living room?
Kind of, yeah. It's, especially as a female, tend to stay away from it as well. It's just probably not a good spot to be. And it's slowly dying. It's slowly dying.
That's what I wanted to know.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you caption any of your live videos? And if so, what captioning software do you use?
I do not capture live, so I don't have any of that. Like right now, there's no captioning happening.
Okay.
What I do afterwards is I will download and transcribe and caption it afterwards. So, rev.com is usually what I use. Rev, R-E-V.com. They are $1 a minute, I believe, right around there. There are other ones out there. Tammy, I always forget how to spell that one. I think it's T-E-M-I. It's connected to Rev, but basically it's Rev's AR program that does it.
And you just write your transcription in there and it does it?
Yep. Yeah. So I'll just send it off to there, send the file to them. They turn it around within 24 hours, and then just get the transcription or get the caption file, upload it to YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever.
I have several questions. But
No worries. Keep.
and this may be blasphemy for you. How do you feel about like live to tape? Is an easier start than live? Like something that's recorded live and then uploaded to YouTube.
Yep, definitely. So if that's what you need to get people to, like, so for example, if I'm working, say, with some car salesmen, like they're not always going to want to go directly live. Like we need to have a few things worked out first. We need a few practice runs. So yeah, if that's what you need, do it. What you're going to be missing is potentially any engagement, obviously on the video, but then you'll also lose some of the benefit of that from just a pure algorithm standpoint. So Facebook doesn't treat produced video as highly as live video. YouTube, obviously YouTube still promotes a lot of produced video, but generally if you're doing live to tape, your production quality is not going to be as good as, say, a very edited YouTube video. So I would say if that's what you need to get started, awesome, but I would transition as quickly as possible.
Okay. Something you kind of went by quickly, and I had a question about was adding personality streams. Can you briefly explain that? Because I got a little lost on that.
Yeah, no worries. By personality streams, what I really mean is when you just take your phone, so you have your weekly show. Think of that as the high-end, very produced, this is the content. Even if you're just doing it from your phone, you're delivering content in your weekly show. Say that's on Wednesday. Well, on Friday, you might want to do, hey, this just happened in my life. I'm making my coffee, want to talk to kind of the followers. It's just, the personality stream is more about just purely connecting with you as a person or purely connecting in that relationship aspect. It's not necessarily delivering any content. It's just maybe answering questions. It could be a variety of things, but it's very informal. Maybe you tease next week's live stream content and you can have a link to that. But that's kind of what that personality stream element is. It's kind of that extra little connection piece.
You're doing like a phone live stream to
Yep.
promote your scheduled live stream.
Yep, exactly. So like that personality stream should always be phone, most always be phone. And then like more informal, more of like, hey, I'm like the behind the scenes element, like bringing them along on your real life and letting them see a little bit of your personality. So if you like hiking with your dog, Maybe you're doing a live stream at Devil's Lake with your dog as you're hiking, something like that. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, as I kind of alluded to, the big thing is really about diving in and just getting started. You're never going to make any progress. Like a lot of times people have these big visions of what they want for their live stream, their big plan. The only way to get there is to jump in, take that consistent action, and get going. So thank you all. If you want to connect again, nickpalkowski.com. Feel free to talk to me at any point here too. I geek out about this stuff, so I will love to chat with you all day long. We could have been here till next Tuesday, easily. So thanks again.